Evening. We'll talk about the Information Technology Act 2000 in this lecture. Information Technology Act was enacted in the year 2000, as the name suggests, and it was after the United Nations came with all the economies came together for setting up a regulatory mechanism on the growing mechanisms of the information technology. On those grounds, on those lines, Information Technology Act 2000 was drafted, or you can say it was adopted from the United Nations. After the Information Technology Act 2000 was enacted, it underwent a massive amendment in the year 2008, just after the Mumbai attacks, which happened on 26/11/2018, and it was a haste decision, and no mechanism or no discussion was held in any of the houses with regard to it, and it was just passed in haste. And so we see until today there are lacunas in this particular Information Technology Act. So, when we talk about the Information Technology Act and we talk about the penalties and the compensation and the offenses under this category, so first we will say that there are two forms of offenses. One is the civil offense, one is the criminal offense. For the civil offense, mostly the punishment is in the form of a compensation. On the other hand, in the criminal law, most of the punishment is a punishment which is more of a fine, imprisonment, and not a compensation. Mostly, I won't say that the compensation is not a part of the criminal justice system, but normally what we see under IPC, there is no room for the compensation. Though in many matters, in the new form of judicial jurisprudence, we have seen the people have been getting some amount of compensation also. But when we see Information Technology Act, specifically section 43, we see penalty for damage to computer and computer system. We have various scenarios of the offenses which can take place, and for that purpose section 43 is only as a civil offense. It is only a civil offense to the nature that the person can only be allowed to compensate for the offense, but he will not be prosecuted for the offense. So anything now, penalty for damage to computer system. Here computer, the information technology includes computer system, network, wi-fi, anything and everything related to the computer software and hardware. So first what we see here is access or secures access to such computer system or computer network. Anything computer systems or computer network, anything, and that person is to be prosecuted under section 43. Second, download, copies, extract. C, introduces or any virus. Fourth, damages to any computer, damage the computer data or the computer system network. Anything and everything which is said here, we can say that that person is going to look into that particular thing and do that do the computer what we see is the computer system or computer network. If that person does anything which is derogatory to that computer system or network, that person will be prosecuted for the offense under section 43. Moving on, when we see section E, disrupts or causes disruption or disallows the person who actually is the owner of the computer to access his computer, or provides an assistance to computer to gain access to somebody else's computer, or charges or services, or that person is a hacker and he does it for that purpose to hack the other person's computer. So what has been said in the section 43 is that he shall be liable to damages by way of compensation of not exceeding 1 crore rupees. So what we see here, it is only for the money or the compensation. So anybody who has been booked under section 43 will have to pay a compensation, though he will not be prosecuted or he will not have an imprisonment to that effect. Now, 1 crore may seem a very huge amount in this particular case, but when we see 1 crore, the damages can be much less than that. But when we see in a rightful manner, 1 crore may seem to be a less of amount. Say a person goes on to a computer and steals a software which is worth of rupees 5 crore rupees, and that person goes under section 43 to get a compensation. There he will be only be getting a compensation to a maximum tune of rupees 1 crore only, and he will be suffering a loss of thereby what he can would have made a particular profit uh, of his hard work. Now, when we talk about section 43, it is more of a civil nature of offences. But moving on to section 66, where we will see that it is more of an offence which is on a criminal side. And if the offence is criminal in nature, that person will be prosecuted prosecuted and thereby imprisoned for a time period, and he will be also be paid a fine. Now, when we talk about compensation and fine, compensation is paid to the person who is actually the victim, but fine, when we talk about fine, it is paid to the government. So there is a vital difference between compensation and fine. So moreover, section 66A, so section 66A, I have already discussed a little bit of thing when we talked about 19A, freedom of speech and expression, and said that when we talk about freedom of speech and expression, it should be free in nature. Now section 66A said you cannot write anything and everything on social media because it was restricted. Section 66A had wordings which restricted its use on the social media, and it was said in the case of Shreya Singhal versus Union of India that it was against the freedom of speech and expression, and thereby it was held to be unconstitutional, and it was said that Section 66 would cease to operate under the Information Technology Act. Section 66B, what we talk about is punishment for dishonestly receiving stolen computer resource or a communication device. So, when a computer is stolen or a sum of the data has been stolen from the computer, or which has been downloaded or which has been extracted by whatever means whatsoever, the person will be punished under section 66B, which is punishment for another description for a term which may extend to 3 years or with fine, or which may extend to 1 lakh rupees. So that is what we see here is that what the wordings which has been used in here is the 1 lakh rupees, and this is with fine and not compensation. So here that was a compensation which was to be paid to the victim, but here it is a fine which will be paid to the government, or it will be going to the government resources and not the victim. So the 1 lakh rupees will be going to the government, and the person will be going for a imprisonment, and that particularly is not going to benefit who is the complainant or who is the victim. So somebody who has lost some of his vital data, so it depends upon that person what he seeks to do, either go for a punishment or either he was to go for that particular section of section 43. Section 66C, punishment for identity theft. Whoever fraudulently or dishonestly make the use of electronic signature, password, or any unique identification features. So now when we talk about fraudulently and dishonestly make use of electronic signature, password, we have electronic signature. You have seen electronic signature on your caste certificate, residential certificate. We have electronic signature, or what has been written there, it is digitally signed. Digitally signed electronic signature, moreover it is mostly it is a synonymous word, but there are certain differences. But here we will take it that digital signature and electronic signature are same, and somebody, if that person has done a digital signature, or any other person has authorized a digital signature, though that person is not thereby authorized to provide his digital signature, but he has fraudulently provided a digital signature, that person will be booked for identity theft. Second, password. You are prompted for password for any n number of purposes, for Facebook account, for your online SBI account, and if any person has taken that particular password and has provided or has done any offense. Now, the moment he types the password, what your password is, he has done as offense. That is the offense under identity theft, and he has or she has taken out money, transferred that money to his or her account, that will be an again a different set of offense which can be coming under the offense of theft of IPC. See here also the maximum punishment which has been provided is 3 years, and that person shall also be fined for 1 lakh rupees only. Punishment for cheating by personation by using computer resource. Now when a person has been cheating on by a computer resource, so now when we talk about communication device or computer resource, both can be there, the way of phishing, wishing, and also the fraudulent mails which we receive from various sources. So that person by personation, so we create a mindset on the other person, that person is belongs to certain uh, say company or belongs to certain organization, and being of that organization we change our position, believe that person, and some fraudulent activity take place. Suppose you receive a mail from Vikas at the rate tatamotors.com. You will have in your mind mostly that you have received a say a or job offer from tatamotors.com because the domain name says so. Now, and it was mentioned in the mail that if you want to get a job or something, you have to pay rupees 50,000 for the to and fro fare of Mumbai and stay in your Taj, and you believe that particular story and you send them 50,000 rupees, and after that they have vanished. Now what they have done is they have cheated you by personation by using computer, because they have sent you a deceptive mail to bring to your knowledge that you have receiving it from Tata Motors, and because you have Tata is a good brand, and you have believed that mail, and you have sent that money without going for the proper check. Now that person has cheated you by the offense of personation. That can also be coming under the identity theft also, but there is a different set of offense which has been mentioned in the section 66, cheating by personation. And here also the maximum punishment which has been provided is 3 years and a fine of rupees 1 lakh. When we talk about section 66E, violation of privacy. Now whoever intentionally or knowingly captures, publishes and transmits the image of a private area of any person with his or her consent under circumstances violating the privacy of the person. Now this section is a gender neutral section. Now 354, when we're talking about 354, we have seen that 354 is a section which is specifically made for the females, though section 66E is not a female, or it is not a gender bias section, it is a gender neutral section. And here if a male has been captured and his image has been transmitted, published, or transmitted, the person can also be booked under section 66E, though capturing and transmitting can be booked under section 66E, but it will only be for a female. But in here section 66E is both for a male and female. And here also that imprisonment may extend to 3 lakh rupees in 3 years, and imprisonment for 3 years, and the punishment for fine will be rupees 2 lakh rupees. So now there are various explanation what we have in we can say about punishment for privacy. Now coming to cyber terrorism, which is section 66F. Cyber terrorism is using the computer resource for causing any riots, any speech which is targeted for a community, which is lowering the impression of one community in the eyes of one person, and thereby inducing such person to come out of their house and causes a public outrage or something other which is causing a disrepute. It may be because of a particular sect, or a particular caste is particularly targeted, or a particular community is targeted, and people act on that behalf, and you're using the computer as a resource, then that person can be booked. When we talk about cyber terrorism, is not only related to this community or the caste, or specifically community. It is also what we are seeing now in the coronavirus cases. What you have some amount of information, the wrong information, the information which has not been verified, and you forward that information on the social media without verifying it, that is a punishable offense, and that can also be coming under the purview of cyber terrorism, because it causes some misconception. People get panicked, and these are not only related to this coronavirus. People are also doing it during the situation of riots. They are posting it into a groups. When you are posting it in a groups, you can say 200 people, 252 people to be specific, can view that particular thing, and the messages which is causes panic is again distributed among the people, and that ways the communication is spread. That particular things has to be avoided. And cyber terrorism is one of the things which is coming, which terrorism is used to be caused through the means of cyber. Use cyber technologies, and for that, though the punishment has been quite stringent in here, and the person can be punished for imprisonment for life. So that the punishment what they have been provided in the cyber terrorism, which they are using it to cause moral damage, massive damage. So that is a thing which is called the cyber terrorism, and the person can be booked for the maximum time, which is the imprisonment for life. Now, section 67, punishment for publishing or transmitting obscene material. Now, what is obscene material? Now, the obscene material has not been defined. What it says, publish, transmits in electronic form. So now the obscene material has to be transmitted through electronic form. Now, what may be a obscene material for a normal course may not be an obscene material in the art and literature. So there are certain exceptions. So you can bring that particular obscene material under the say medical study. So if you are doing a particular medical study for that purpose, and you bring that particular obscene material into the category that it is used for your studying purpose, then maybe that is not an obscene material. We are not talking about the sexually explicit material here, it is only the obscene material. And for that, if you are found to publish, transmit this obscene material which cannot be brought under any of the category, then the first punishment, which is will be for an extend for 3 years with the fine which may extend to 5 lakh rupees. On a subsequent thing, if you are found again in possession of obscene material and you are transmitting the obscene material, then the person will be booked for a term which may extend to 5 years and 10 lakh rupees. So in both the cases, if in the second time the offense is more of a strict nature, which will give you a punishment of 5 years plus 10 lakh rupees fine. Next, 67A, punishment for publishing or transmitting a material containing sexually explicit material. So what has been said in the sexually explicit material is that anyone who is found publishing, transmitting material containing sexually explicit thing will be punished. Now, what is punished is here is transmitting and publishing. Viewing and keeping is not punishable. So now, if you have a sexually explicit material, now that is not a punishable offense, because viewing is not a punishable offense as of now. So you can view, if you are viewing it, you can view it, you can put it in your phone, that is not an offense. The moment you try to publish it on a platform, or you try to transmit it to your friends or any other person, then that becomes an offense. So here also, when you are trying to publish it, transmit it, on the first thing, if you are on the first term, if you are doing it, then it is conviction with an imprisonment of either disposition for a term which may extend to 5 years with a fine of 10 lakh rupees. In the second event, imprisonment duration which extend to 7 years and also with a fine of rupees 10 lakh. That is the punishment which has been provided. Nextly, section 67B is also there, which talks about the child pornography. And here, what it has been mentioned here is publishing and transmitting the child pornography is not to be viewed nor it can be kept in your phone, that is also an offense. Though in 67 ends, a sexually explicit material or the obscene material, it is the punishable is only for the publishing and transmitting, but on the other hand, child pornography is not to be viewed, nor it can be downloaded, nor it can be there on your phone. And if you receive that particular video of child pornography from any other n number of n person, and you have downloaded it and it is found on your phone, you will be prosecuted under section 67B. And for that purpose, the maximum punishment which has been provided is imprisonment for life. So I think Information Technology Act is only a part which has to be studied in Unit 3. So I think this will be fine for it. And I would also say that Unit 3, I will be sending all of it, but focus on Unit 1 and Unit 3. Unit 2, Unit 3, you can just have a overview, because most of the questions will be asked from Unit 1 and Unit 2. Unit 3, because it is not very clear how do we go about it, so I would suggest to go for Unit 1 and Unit 2. And also, for the project which I have said, start writing the cases in your fair copy, which is the practical copy, I guess, and write it finally. Okay, thank you.